Well, anyway, I was in the hospital for that surgery, and one of the nurses, he said he was a foodie, and he always talked about food, right? And so I was telling him I'm from the East Side, this, that, and he goes, wow. So he says, hey, so what's a good Mexican place in the East Side? And I said, it's called El PIrrin.
Welcome to San Jose, California, one of the biggest cities in the United States and home to over 1 million people. If you ask any one of those million people, where's a good place to get a good taco in San Jose, chances are you're going to get a different answer each time. Hi, my name is Frankie Robles, comedian, DJ, screenwriter, and lifelong resident of San Jose, California. Journey with me as I interview local San Jose artists, comedians, small business owners, politicians, and other San Jose creatives at their favorite taco spot in one of the biggest cities in the country with hella taquerias, taco trucks, and taco stands. Taco lovers, this is the Taco Debacle. On today's episode, I interview Eddie Garcia, retired executive, heart transplant recipient, heart health advocate, and author of the book Summer in the Waiting Room. Journey with us as we discuss the events leading up to, during, and after Eddie's heart attack, and how his book came to fruition. We sit down at El PIrrin, one of East San Jose's hidden gems. El PIrrin sits in the heart of the Mayfair neighborhood and is right down the street from Our Lady of Guadalupe Church. El PIrrin is my go-to spot for chilaquiles, and I've never tried anything else there. But when I asked Eddie where his favorite taco spot in San Jose is, he said El PIrrin. Could this become one of my new favorite San Jose taco spots? Taco lovers, let the debacle begin.
Hola, ¿cómo estás, Shelly?
Bien, ¿y ustedes?
Bien, aquí nomás.
Gracias.
¿Gusta alguna bebida para usted?
Una Diet Coke,
Ok, claro que
con
sí.
mucho hielo. en el
Claro que
vaso.
sí. Sí.
Gracias. All right, so the point of the show is just to highlight different artists, different comedians, different, anybody doing something in San Jose that's, hey, let's get this person more recognition. And then as well as support the businesses in San Jose that, that are busting their butts. And
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
The show's called The Taco Debacle because you ask anybody in San Jose where is a good place to get a taco, you're going to get a different answer each time.
That's right. They're going to have their opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily about being the best, or it's just, the person's preference, right? And so you're the second person that we're interviewing, and it's the second different place I've been. I've never been to Iguana's downtown.
Okay.
I've been here before, but I always get chilaquiles. I always just get, the normal, right? So when you said El PIrrin for tacos, I was like, oh man, I never had them there.
They're good little tacos,
So
yeah.
what's your go-to tacos here?
The chicken taco.
The chicken taco.
Chicken taco, yeah.
Okay.
It's it's just good, man. It's like juicy. It's in some kind of juice, and it's shredded, and it's good. I got a problem though since I had my transplant. One of the meds I've taken, I can't remember which one it is, makes my tongue really sensitive. So I have to eat them without salsa now.
No way.
Because if I just put a little bit, oh man, it just yeah.
That's my wife's worst nightmare.
So it kind of sucks, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It kind of sucks, but the meat's still good. I mean, the tacos are still good.
So you recommend the chicken tacos here?
The chicken tacos, yeah. Carne asada tacos are they're good. They're good. They cook the carne just a little bit too much for my taste.
Okay.
But they're still good, and I'll eat them.
Right.
Shit, I'll eat them. I got a story too about. Are we moving now?
No, yeah, do your thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got a story. When I was in the hospital getting a heart pump installed because my heart was really weak,
Pásale.
I had this. ¿Listo?
Listo.
Ok.
Nomás quiero dos tacos. Uno de pollo.
La de tortilla suave, ¿verdad?
¿Vale? Sí. Uno de pollo y uno de asada,
Ok.
pero no salsa.
¿No salsa ninguna?
No. Por favor, gracias.
¿Me das un taco de asada, por favor? Uno. Sí, por favor. Al pastor, carnitas y pollo, ¿sí tiene?
The sampler.
sampler. Gotta hit them all. Hit all the bases.
Yeah.
Ah, ahorita sí.
Gracias.
De nada.
So I had a heart pump installed in my heart because it was getting really weak, and I was on the list to get a transplant, but the doctor said your heart can't last more than a few months, and so and with the waiting list, you don't know how long it's going to take, right?
Right.
Because you got to wait until you get a perfect match, so it could take anywhere from the next day to a few years down the line.
Right.
So they have this technology now. It's called the LVAD. And what they do is they actually install a little titanium pump onto your heart, and it's tied and it's connected with an electrical wire that goes inside your body and comes out the side, and is connected to a computer and some batteries. It's a trip. So you got to wear like a satchel.
Yeah.
Because you're stuck to it all the time. Well, anyway, I was in the hospital for that surgery, and one of the nurses, he said he was a foodie, and he always talked about food, right? And so I was telling him I'm from the east side, this, that, and he goes, wow. So he says, hey, so what's a good Mexican place in the east side? And I said, it's called El PIrrin. And he says, no, I'll Google it, I'll check it out. So a few days down the line, he came back and he said, oh man, that place is good, it's really, really good. And he said he had the morisqueta. He's a Filipino guy, right? And so he wasn't sure what morisqueta was, so he asked the lady, and she said, well, it's pork and juices, and I'll try it. So he said, oh man, I love that, bringing people over here. So one day, this is in the hospital, right? And I got a heart pump on, and he comes in with a bag, and you can see all the grease spots and everything in it. And he brought me some tacos from El PIrrin. He said, don't tell anybody, man, but thank you for that recommendation.
And that's what healed you up. No.
Thank you for that recommendation. So here's here's a couple tacos if you wanna eat them.
Yeah.
And it was good.
Yeah.
It's good because I've been eating. I was there. It was like maybe my second. I was there for 18 days. So it was like my second week there, and it was good.
Nah, I should have got that. No, I'm saying. We're gonna start a morisqueta.
The morisqueta.
Podcast.
Yeah, no, he said it was really good. One of my compadres loves the morisqueta here.
Yeah.
Every time he comes, that's what he gets.
So, you and I met back in 2005-ish, 2005,
Okay.
2006, when I was trying to start a nonprofit, and you were working for Comcast at the time.
Yep. Yeah.
And you've always been so kind. You were so kind to help me
Well,
out.
thank you.
And so it was always like, oh man. And then once we started connecting through social media, it was nice to like reconnect and just kind of see what's going on. And you've done everything from coaching high school basketball, right, to junior college, to the corporate world, to politics, to now we're here. You wrote your book, and that's, I don't know too many authors, so that's that's
Cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to know. There's Summer in the Waiting Room by Eddie Garcia. Check it out. We'll post
You
up
gotta
pictures.
get it. You gotta
We'll
get
post
it.
up the link later.
It's a
too.
great story, by the way, and not because it's my story, but sometimes I can't even believe what happened. I can't believe what happened. And so the book is, it's about I was doing all these things, and burning the candle like on a lot of ends. I was a classic Type A workaholic. I grew up not too far from here in the East Side, and every opportunity I got, I just wanted. So I just went at it. So I did all these things.
Right.
And one day I got up, like usual in the morning, went to the gym, and didn't get to the second exercise before I had a hard time. So later,
How old are you when this
I was
happened?
46.
46. Geez.
And so at the time, I was the president of the East Side Junior High School District Board. And the East Side Junior High School District was on its fifth straight year of budget cuts. And it was super stressful. And I was a chief of staff to a member of the Board of Supervisors. And the county was in its 10th straight year of budget cuts. And so I was under a lot of stress.
Right.
A lot, self-imposed stress. Nobody put this on me.
But I mean, it comes with the job too.
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
someone that's going to be hustling and making things happen. It's
And I love that stuff, right? I
Right,
loved
right.
it. So I was going full blast. And I started an organization, a nonprofit called the Latino Leadership Alliance,
right.
which trains emerging Latino leaders in Silicon Valley. And so I had all those three things going at once.
And two girls, right?
And two daughters.
And two
One
daughters.
was 16, one was 12.
That's a hard attack on
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I told one guy the other day, I had a full head of hair when my oldest was born. So there you go. So I had all these things going, and so I go to the gym, and my workout was going okay. By my second exercise, I was doing push-ups with a medicine ball on my back, and I couldn't finish. So I ended up going to the doctor. By 7:30, I was in the emergency room, and I had a massive heart attack. And that was probably the best part of that story, because it got worse throughout the summer. That's why it's called Summer in the Waiting Room. I ended up being in the hospital for 106 days.
Straight?
Straight. And about 6 weeks of that was in a medically induced coma, because after the heart attack, my lungs stopped working. So yeah, that's what the book is. So it's a great book. And so here I am talking to you, right? 13 years later.
Right.
And over the time, I had heart failure for 10 years. In 2018, I had that heart pump installed. And in 2020, which we're coming up now on 6 days, it'll be my 3rd anniversary with the heart transplant. So it's a great, great story. Not because it's mine,
Right.
but it's a
Right.
great
Well,
story.
yeah.
It's an inspiring story, because I'm here. I can't believe it sometimes.
Right. And how has that changed your perspective on life? Like, now are you kind of like, I don't want to go do this. Well, I better, because, like, you know what I mean? Like, is there like a-
So inside, in my mind and in my new heart, I guess, I'm still a type A person, but I've flipped everything the other way, where my spiritual, mental, and physical health comes first. Period. Before anything, right? And I went on an incredible spiritual journey, because I grew up Catholic, and as a matter of fact, Guadalupe Church right there is where I was baptized.
Okay.
And my mom was very faithful, very faithful. My dad wasn't. My dad, he went to church for weddings,
Yeah.
right? But my mom was very faithful, and my dad, his belief was, you work hard, you play by the rules, and don't mess with anybody, right? Treat people good. That was it. That was his, those were his rules. And he said, if you follow those rules, you're going to do good in life, right? And my mom is talking about, si Dios quiere, con el favor de Dios, right? All these spiritual things. Everything's going to be okay. You're in God's hands, right? And so when you're a kid, it's easier to understand the second one, right? Which is work hard, play by the rules, and don't mess with anybody. It's really easy to understand. This other stuff is like, whoa, way out there. Right? So I conducted my life with my dad's rules. Right? Play by the rules, work hard.
But I mean, even then, you're a good human being by just doing that. Like,
right? Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? Like, you're, you know.
Yeah, and then, thanks to my parents, I mean, I think they did raise good human beings, and those are good rules to play by.
Right.
But the piece I had missing was con el favor de Dios, because you can't. My mom's worldview is you can't do those things without God's favor, right? And so when I went through this summer, the focal went like, oh my God. Both my parents had passed away already. Like, oh my God, mom knows.
Right.
She had it.
All right, let's see what this chicken taco's about.
Yeah, no, that's
I like the way the tortillas are nice and crispy. You see that?
Yeah.
Anyway, you'll see it later.
I only ordered 2 because I end up having 4. Watch, because I take a little tortilla out. Is it good? I feel like it's my place, huh? I'm all nervous.
This is good.
It's moist on the chicken.
The chicken's good. It's got good flavor. The tortilla is like soft. It feels like a flour and a corn tortilla came together and made the perfect tortilla. And then it just like, you don't even have to chew that much, because it just like molds into your teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of goes with, damn, this is good. See? That's the debacle. That's the debacle. Everybody has their different spot, and you don't know what's. So how did the book come to be?
So, I'm sure you've heard this all the time. If you've gone through a lot of experience, people say, hey man, you gotta write a book, and you should write a book, right? And while I was in the hospital, my family, was super supportive. So the subtitle, the book, Summer in the Waiting Room. The waiting room refers to my family, so it's told from the perspective of the waiting room, right? Because they're a typical Latino family. They owned the waiting room. There could, at any given moment throughout the day, there would be 25, 30 people in the waiting room every day.
100 days.
Actually, for about 88 days, because my first 88 days were at Kaiser in Santa Clara. And then once I came out of the coma and I learned how to walk, and I didn't learn how, I was able to move a little bit, because when I was in an induced coma, they paralyzed my muscles, so I could, my lungs could rest from the lung failure. So when I woke up, I couldn't move anything, nothing. And so they did a little rehab in Kaiser Santa Clara. When I was done there, I would spend 21 days at an intense rehab facility in Vallejo.
Dang.
So I could actually learn how to walk and
Get all trained. You have Rocky? Did you have
oh,
the
yeah,
tire
I was,
going?
oh man, I was hitting the speed bag. But so the title of the book refers to the waiting room, and so the waiting room, which I fondly refer to everybody that went in and out of the waiting room, was always saying after I got through it, you got to write a book. You got to write a book, right? And so I have a degree in history.
Okay.
And I never taught history, but I'd always thought it'd be cool to write a book, because all the skills you learn in the history department are researching, writing, right, finding sources and weaving together a story that you were not part of. Now just think about that, right?
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, right, because if you write about the 1962 missile crisis, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, maybe I should do this, right? I have all these skills, and I never really used those skills exactly like that, right? Because the research, writing, all those skills I use all in my career, but the actual skills to write a story, and so I relied on all those skills, and I interviewed almost everybody that went to the waiting room. I interviewed doctors, nurses, physical therapists, everybody I could. And then I got my medical record, which was almost 3,000 pages long.
Day
to day. And it was hard to do. That was the hardest part, because it was all data, right? And then at the end of each day, or at the end of each, I guess, round, a doctor would put a sentence or two summarizing, right? And so I combed through all that. And then Sandra, my wife, wrote a journal. And she's very, very faithful. She's got a deep faith. She reminds me of my mom. And so I put all those together to write the story. And it was funny, because especially my family, when they read the book, they were like, wow, that's exactly how that happened.
No way.
And I wasn't even there, right? I was passed out.
I was asleep, man.
No, yeah. I was resting. I got time for that. Yeah. So that's how the book became. And I actually started with writing a blog.
The Eastside Eddie report, right?
The Eastside Eddie report, and I started writing the story in the blog. And so what happened is, I think I did the first post about 2014. So 4 years after, I did all the research in those 3 years. I did all the research, and then I started writing in the blog. And in the back of my mind, I thought, I got a book here, but it wasn't a book.
Right.
And so I started writing a blog, and finally, just before the heart pump surgery, I stopped writing because things got serious. Right? The doc says, if we don't do something, you're not going to be here in a few months. Right?
Yeah.
So life got really serious,
Right.
and so I stopped writing, and got through all that, and then living with the heart pump was a lot of work. Didn't write. And then what I would do is I would write on a Word document, cut and paste, and put it on the blog in what I call excerpts, right? And so I had a running thing on a Word doc. And after the transplant, my suegra says, hey, what happened to your book, right? And I said, I don't know. So I went and looked at my files. I had 94,000 words. I had a freaking book. So in 2020, I would say about early 21, I started putting it all together. And I published it in 2022. On the 12th anniversary of my heart attack. Is the day I released it.
How did that feel? Was it?
It feels awesome.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I did it. I got a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, because it was when it came out, I was like, what? And then once we got it, once we got it on Amazon, it was all right. I had to get it. Yeah. I remember seeing your East Side 80 reports.
Sorry.
This carnitas is really good. It's
Is it?
really crunchy.
It looks good, yeah.
It looks like, I don't know if you can hear in the microphone, but the crunch. This is good. It's just weird because when you have your spots, that's your spot for this. That's your spot for that.
Yeah.
You got your taco spot.
This time.
Until the next episode.
The next time you say, oh man, this is my taco spot right here.
There's on a side note, I mean to tell you too, after I give you my video or my clip to have your daughter kind of critique it, it's just I got that critique and I was like bummed. I had to close out a show a couple days after, and I was like, I can't do 25 minutes after getting ripped apart, man. That was like I was brutal. And then I was like, it was truth. Like everything about it, I was like, man, your daughter knows. It was like she's got the eye for it. She's like a perfect scout, right? And so I was like, oh man, I was bummed. I was like, I should stop doing comedy. Like I was like, oh, and it wasn't like a bad thing. It's just kind of, that's how that's how us comedians kind of get. Is like when we hit a low, it's like,
sure, yeah.
That's it, man. This is stupid. Why am I doing this? And then I was talking to another comedian, and he was like, why are you doing comedy? Just to make people laugh. Well, then just remember that.
Yeah. Wow, that's good advice.
And then I took your daughter's advice, and then I just kind of trimmed all the fat. I was like, okay, I don't need to do this. I don't need to do that. Like, she was right. Okay, this and this. And then the next show I had after that one, the next show at the Improv I did, was like one of my best.
Killed it.
One of my best sets ever.
Nice.
I was like, oh, this is great. So thank you to your daughter.
I'll let her know. Well, she'll see this.
So, coming to the end here. Any last sentiment or any last word of advice for the listeners?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it is about faith, hope, and love. Those three things drive me every single day. And faith is a real simple proposition. It's believing in something higher and more powerful than yourself, right? If you're a Christian, Catholic, or any other religion, it's God. If you're not, there's still something that's more powerful than us, right? And so faith is trusting in that. Hope is according to St. Paul, hope starts with rejoicing in suffering. Think about that.
Hope starts in
rejoicing in suffering. What? Because he says you rejoice in suffering because suffering leads to character. No, suffering leads to endurance. That you can hang in there and just be there. Right. And endurance leads to character, which makes you stronger as a person. And those three combined, suffering, endurance, and character, lead to hope. That's what hope comes in, right? And love, from a biblical sense, love is giving to others, charity. That's the biblical definition of love is charity, giving of yourself for someone else. So if you do those things, if you have faith, and you have hope, and you love, no matter what happens in your life, it's gonna be okay.
Right.
And here's the worst case scenario, and I'll finish with this. The worst case scenario is the best case scenario, right? The worst case scenario is you die, right? Because all kinds of crazy things can happen in life, but when you die, potoof, your life here is done. That's the worst case scenario.
Right.
But I believe that's the best case scenario.
All right.
Because you're born and you go to heaven and you're cool for the rest of time, eternity.
Right.
So that's what it's all about, bro.
That's what it's all about. Faith, hope, and love.
Faith, hope, and love.
All right, y'all. Well, we're at the end of the show now. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you. Go pick up Summer in the Waiting Room. Go pick up Summer in the Waiting Room.
Thank you.
Go pick up Summer in the Waiting Room. It's available on Amazon. I'll sell it to you for $10 more. So don't get it from me. Get it on Amazon. Just on Amazon.
It's only
Could
available
show up at
on
your house.
No,
knock
only
on the door.
Only available on Amazon.
Only available on Amazon.
That's
there
right.
you have it. El PIrrin tacos were pretty bomb.
Yep.
So far, they moved up on my list. So that's the debacle. Where am I gonna go now? I don't know. That's the debacle.
If you ever have a pollo and mole debacle, bomb right here.
Oh
This is it right here.
Stay
This
tuned
is the
for
place.
next Pollo and Mole. Thank you all for tuning in.
All right, thank you.